Welcome to School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time.
Hey everybody, welcome to School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time. Got a really good guest here today, coming to you all the way from Dallas, Texas. Brian Walder, say hello to everybody at School's Out 80s.
Good evening, School's Out.
Awesome, Brian. Brian and I, man, we go way back. I mean, I think when I first met you, Brian, I was 18 years old.
I like in 1984, 85.
84, 85 time frame, roughly. Yeah, long, many moons ago. So this is all about the 80s and all about comedy. And you are a very funny caricature kind of individual. I mean, you got a lot of personality, more so than the normal person out there. Not that you're abnormal. I'm not trying to say that, but you're unique, man. There's nothing wrong with that. So take us back a little bit. Like when you think about the 80s and you think we'll start with like high school, Brian. So do you have a funny story from like high school in the 80s that comes to mind?
Wow. High school? I don't think so.
No? Okay, that's fine.
I think, I started having fun.
Okay.
Well, let's put it this way. I started having fun in about 1982, 1983 when I started school at the University of Columbia.
Okay.
So that's kind of, like most college kids, that's when I left home for the first time,
Right.
didn't live, under the same roof as my parents, things like that. So I had the ability to live a little bit. So that's probably anything we're going to talk about is going to start in college. Although, as I was kind of thinking about stories to tell, I was like,
okay, go ahead.
Well, I was like, okay, there's some stories I can't tell because, my mother is still living and I don't want her to hear those. And there's some things that I don't want the police to hear because they might come looking for me. There are things I don't want the University of Missouri Columbia to hear. There are things that I don't want the fraternity of Phi Gamma Delta to hear. So there's a whole list of things that are like,
yeah, I know. It really limits what we can talk about. Statute of limitations isn't in our favor.
Right. So, but no, I think most of the really good stuff probably started happening and or happened, 83 through 86, which is when I was, at the University Missouri Columbia. And then when did you?
Sure.
So I graduated from high school in 82.
Okay.
When did you graduate 84?
85, actually.
85.
Yeah.
So you are young. But yeah, I think that's, and not coincidentally, I think a lot of the fun that I was having, 82 through 86 kind of stopped in 86 when I graduated.
It's a wake-up call.
Or slowed down anyway. I moved to Kansas City and lived there for a little while, for a couple of years. Got a real job, got out of school and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, all that fun stuff, kind of, like I say, didn't come to an end, but slowed down considerably.
Sure. No worries. What about like, let's say your freshman year of college at Mizzou, at the University of Missouri? I imagine you got a really good story from your freshman year.
I'm trying to. Are you? Can I ask you questions throughout this? Or you're going to edit?
Yeah, yeah, no, go ahead. This is not a test.
Um. So if I would have planned this out a little better, maybe I would have started off with a high school story and a freshman year story and a sophomore year story. But I think
Yeah, no worries.
I started thinking about stories like um, or things that happened to me in order of impact.
Okay.
So like maybe the most memorable thing that I can talk about happened during my junior year, not my
Okay.
freshman year,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
No, go for it.
Uh, so you know what? And maybe you remember this. I don't know. Do you remember when Clint Slusher and I and Dave Girardi and Greg Davidson? So here, this is going to bump up your ratings because all those people are going to want to watch this interview now, right?
Good. Hey,
Um,
awesome.
so you'll have to put them in the. You'll have to poke them when you post this.
Sure.
When we got into it was a lip sync contest, I guess, but we did the Village People at Harpo's.
That's right. Yeah. And you were one of the village people?
I was a construction worker.
Oh,
And
okay.
so this is kind of a bold statement, but that event might have been the best time I ever had in 4 years of college.
Wow.
And partly because it wasn't just one night. We entered a competition. I can't remember who got it started.
Yeah.
I think Slusher, but we were in like the general competition, and then we moved on to the finals, and then we won, and then we went on to the next thing, and then they called us back just because we were a lot of fun and they wanted us on stage again because they sold a lot of drinks while we were there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just one night, it was one night a week for like 6 weeks.
Right. I had forgotten all about you guys dressing up as the village people because I think there was like you guys did it, and then the class like right behind me did it with different people.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I'm,
that.
I'm pretty sure that occurred.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I had forgotten about that. That was man, that was yeah, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
watching you guys practice.
Oh, yeah. So that was big fun. And like I say, it wasn't just, one night at Harpo's,
Right.
which on any given night, was a great night anyway. But it was probably like 6 nights out.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, it was a great time, and got a little taste of fame and paparazzi and all that craziness, because
Oh wow.
I never had any of that before. So that was
Yeah.
to be, stars and whatever for a couple months or so. We had groupies. Girls were screaming, "We love you, Village People."
Oh my
Um,
God, that is
yeah,
hilarious.
that's a very
Love
heady
that.
feeling. Like I say,
Yeah.
I'd never been on stage before. I didn't know what that was like.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an awesome thing.
Man,
And
you got a
then
party pick with you dressed up as the village people?
say that again.
Do you still have a party pick with you but dressed up as the village people?
I probably do somewhere.
Okay.
I think we talked about this a little bit, but
Yeah.
remember, I just moved into a new house uh,
Yeah.
a couple months ago, so I'm still like unpacking.
Unpacking. No worries.
So there are boxes and boxes of pictures and stuff like that that I need to dig out and sort out and stuff like that. So I probably do.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find it. I went online today, this
Yeah.
afternoon, and tried to Google, just Harpo's, Village People, karaoke, competition, blah, 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 whatever. Um,
Oh man.
and couldn't come up with, I came up with a few things, but you know what? I
Yeah.
guess YouTube didn't really take off and people didn't start filming things like that until about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So when I tried to go back, to 1985, 86, looking for something from that era, it's just not out there.
Man.
If you, 10, 12 years ago, there's tons of stuff, but I guess that's too far back maybe. So I'm going to have
Right.
to, I'm sure there, I'm sure I've got some pictures, and probably some other folks do as well. So I'm going to have to make an effort to put some of that together.
Yeah, I got to get that picture of you dressed up like a Fiji man and your date dressed up like a Fiji man.
And my date having me up on her shoulders. Now that I do have, I know I've got that.
Oh, okay. I need to get that for the slideshow here today.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get that. I've got for you.
Okay, I definitely need to get that. I put that in our just so you guys know, as you're listening to this, Brian and I were in a fraternity in the 80s. So everything you've heard about how much fun fraternities are, particularly in the 80s, it's all true.
Yeah, you know what? This might be a good an opportunity to plug Greek life. I know Greek life isn't today what it was in the 80s when we were growing up. That sounds strange to say.
Mhm.
It's not the same. It's changed. Universities and the way they interact with fraternities and sororities as well, to some extent, have changed a little bit with the times, and so I don't
Sure.
think they mean today what they did 30, 35 plus years ago. The fraternity system has changed. Unfortunately, I'm not able to speak to what that looks like today, but I can tell you it was worth every minute of it back in the day. And, college fraternity is not for college days alone. I don't know if you know
Absolutely.
this, but I
Yeah.
went back to Columbia a couple weekends ago.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that was, I haven't been back to Columbia in over a decade. So I live, I live in Dallas. So I flew to
Right.
Kansas City, hooked up with my pledge son. And we went out in Kansas City Friday night, and we met up with half a dozen fraternity brothers, and just dinner and drinks, and reminiscing and stuff like that. Got
Sure.
up Saturday morning and drove about 2 hours from Kansas City to Columbia. And it was bitterly, bitterly cold.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that was no bueno.
Yeah.
But we didn't spend much time outside. In fact, since MU is part of the SEC now, it was a night game. The game started at 6:30, so we got there about noon. And we spent the day in Shakespeare's Pizza
Love
and
that place.
Bud's Barbecue and Harpo's, and eventually we got over to the stadium and did some tailgating. But most of the time, we were inside and warm, and even the tailgating was, intense,
Yeah,
with
sure.
industrial heaters. It was only when we went into the stadium where it was actually, bitterly, bitterly cold.
Right, right.
And we made it to halftime, and then we were like, nah, this got to go.
You're out.
We're out. We're out.
So, Brian, you probably remember this story, but do you remember how we used to take the little plastic tumblers that we got from, we got them at Harpo's, and then you also got them inside the football game,
Right.
and our fraternity would take those little tumblers, and after we would drink a Coke, we would take the tumbler and try and get it inside the tuba player's tuba, like it was like a basketball. Do you remember that?
I don't,
No,
but
okay.
I'm trying to work out the logistics of getting that tumbler into the tuba players.
It didn't really go in. It got into the bell of the tuba, but it couldn't actually it doesn't really go in. The opening to the tuba is just not that big, but it was just the
Gotcha.
point of the thing that the guy would have to dig our cups out of his tuba while he was playing.
Wow. But so where we were sitting,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
the band was on the opposite side of the stadium.
Oh, yeah, because you were on the adult side.
Yeah, yeah. So we were, which is not, of course, where I would have been, back in the '80s when I was a
Right,
student.
right.
Um, so that was, yeah. But yeah, so when I'm trying to think of throwing a tumbler into a tuba, that wouldn't have worked this trip.
No, no, not this trip, but God, I remember that. I mean, it was like they would be playing and you just see all these cups going at this guy. And at one point it was like a game to him. He was trying to capture, he was trying, he's like moving back and forth trying to get him in his tuba. Like he
Nice,
was
nice.
like he was involved in it. It wasn't messing him up at all.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
that's a mark of showmanship there. If you can keep playing, on Wisconsin or whatever the guy's playing,
Right.
and catch a few empty tumblers and maybe a couple full ones,
Right in your tuba.
um, as a student population is tossing them your that way, um, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just one of those little stories. Okay, so I got a question. Did you ever, and this isn't against the rules in this show at all, but were you ever able to sneak any significant amount of alcohol into a Mizzou football game?
I don't think I've ever been to a Mizzou game without taking a significant amount of alcohol into the
Okay,
game with me, including 2 weeks ago.
okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it was pretty much de rigueur. I think what we always did was at least take
Uh,
a half pint and sometimes a pint of bourbon or vodka or a mixer,
yep,
something into the stadium with you, and and then you'd buy a diet coke or whatever, and make a drink while you were in there. So that's changed a little bit because they actually sell drinks in the stadium now.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now that's getting me interested in a home game.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what that looks like. Well, remember, we started drinking at noon.
Right, yeah,
So we spent, a good 6 hours of day drinking before we ever got to the stadium.
right,
And
sure,
then tailgating exists solely for the purpose of drinking heavily before going into the stadium, right? Prime
right,
the pump, if you will.
yes,
So we went to a couple different tailgates, and it was all about making shots and making sure you had a full beer and what have you. Um, so yeah, that didn't happen in the same way, before. You were
right,
trying to
sure.
sneak booze in there, and now I don't know. I mean, I've got silver hair, so nobody carded me, so I don't know what that looks like. Every time I walked up to get a drink, I gave them uh, a credit card, and they were happy to take it and give me a new beer or whatever I was drinking, at the time.
Right, sure.
So, but I don't know. On the student side, it might be a little bit different. They might be, carding people and stuff like that.
Well, back in the 80s, they used to pat us down. So like when you were a freshman and you went to a Mizzou football game and you're trying to get in and say you had a parka on,
Yeah.
which was what we wore because it was going to be cold. It was Missouri. And they would just like, pat you down and make sure you don't have any alcohol in you and then be like, okay, good.
Well, so what I remember,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever remember going to a game with a parka. Maybe,
Hmm.
but most of the time, we wore a jacket.
Yeah, like a suit jacket.
Yep, like a suit
Yeah.
jacket, maybe a tie.
Yeah.
So you had an inside pocket to put a half pint in. But that pat down was not like a TSA pat down.
No,
They
it was
they
weak at
weren't.
best, right?
Yeah, yeah, they weren't precursory. They weren't looking to catch people. And then we usually took dates to the games as well.
True.
So girls, And I think now there's a lot more effort put into checking purses, and I think they even sell stadium purses that are see-through.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, they do, because I mean, I go to a lot of concerts, and a lot of the women that go to concerts
Yeah.
now, just so they just have a purse that is plastic, and you can see everything in it.
Right, right. We went to the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving Day
Yeah,
a few days ago, and all the girls. If you go to more than one game, it's not worth the trouble to bring your best Coach bag. Invest in a $20 see-through, and that way you don't have to struggle getting in and out of the place. Just
absolutely.
dump it all into a see-through bag and be done with it. Um, so so back in the day, I think
Yeah,
they weren't concerned with that as much. So girls could have a little handbag and cruise on in, or guys could have a bottle in their jacket pocket. Nobody was really looking for that kind of thing.
yeah. As
If you
long as
weren't
you, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So if you weren't, and we probably had a few drinks before we got to the stadium back then, but as long as you weren't obviously like falling down, schnockered drunk, um,
right.
you were going to probably walk in the walk in the gate and not have to worry about anybody, confiscating anything from you or your entourage.
That is 100% true. One time and I'm thinking to myself, I guess I had the parka on,
Yeah.
and they were patting me down, and I snuck a fifth of VO, and how I snuck it in a fifth. Like, we're not talking a pint, we're talking a fifth. What I did was I turned the bottle upside down and stuck it in my cowboy boot and put my blue jeans around it. Walked in, they patted me down, didn't go to my boot. I was in.
There you go.
And everybody, Brian, in the fraternity was my friend.
Of course.
John.
With the fifth, with 750 ml. Yeah,
Yes.
of course you are.
Oh my God. Of course, it didn't have a full fifth in it because, it was the college days. So my fifth probably had half of it gone before I got there. But that was the carrying.
You had to grease
bottle
the
of
wheel to
course.
get over there.
Yes.
You had to give away a few shots just to get in.
I'm telling you, money was not easily obtainable before you get out of college. While you're in college, like, every single dollar mattered to the nth degree. And that's a good thing to talk about. So, like, when we were in the fraternity, we would buy like one good keg and seven bad, not bad, but like we would buy like one good tasting keg. Like, to start
Yeah.
off, we would buy like regular Budweiser. And then the rest of it would be like Milwaukee's Best or whatever we could get the cheapest.
Right, right. Or you'd have a couple good kegs, like let's call it premium beer. So
Yes.
Budweiser or Miller Lite.
And Bush.
But
Yeah.
then you have certainly anything tapped after midnight was a bargain,
Yes.
a discount booze. I remember we used to have room parties, and I used to get red, white, and blue, a case of red, white, and blue for $4 and change.
I remember that.
24 long neck bottles of red, white, blue for less than $5.
And don't let it get past being ice cold, because it tastes like hell.
Exactly. And it kept you regular.
Yeah. Yeah. This is all very, very, very true.
But yeah, now you can't buy a 6-pack for I don't even drink beer. What does a 6-pack cost?
Well, a good 6-pack costs $9.
Yeah.
Like an IPA or something like that. You go down $1 if you get like if you get Mick Ultra or something like that, you're probably looking at $7.50, $8. But like a good IPA 6-pack, you're looking at $9, $10, maybe 11, depending upon what it is. Not that I'm a connoisseur. This is just what I've heard.
Right, right. I'm not. I don't drink beer anymore. I mean,
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
I'm a martini drinker, and
Yeah,
people will tell you I don't even drink martinis because I just get a Grey Goose martini straight up, no fruit, which no olives, no vermouth, nada. I mean, just ice cold vodka in an ice cold martini glass. And some
there
people will
you
say
go.
that's not even a martini; it's just vodka. Why don't you just order vodka?
Well,
I don't want them to think I'm a drunk. Um,
it's all good,
put
man.
it in the glass at least. But I don't really, I haven't had drank beer. Once in a while, I did in Columbia.
Mhm. Yeah,
I did at the Cowboys game just because it's easier to drink what everybody's drinking, than try to make drinks.
right. Sure. Yep,
And so
that is true.
that's a convenience thing.
That is true.
But yeah, I don't normally drink beer, so I don't buy it. I don't know what it costs.
Right. No worries. No worries. Well, let's talk about this. Might be a good topic. I love bringing this up while we're talking about the 80s. So, do you remember any like blind dates? Did you ever have any blind dates back in college or high school?
I
When
did.
somebody set you up?
So the University of Missouri was one of at least three schools in
Yeah.
Columbia. Well, more than three. There was the University of Missouri, Stevens College,
Yes.
Columbia College, and I had a blind date with a girl from Stevens. I don't know how I met her. Probably a little sister rush party.
Okay.
She was from Ponca City, Oklahoma, and we went to see Sophie's Choice.
Oh, interesting. Was it playing at their at Stevens?
No, it was like first run. We went to the theater to see it.
Like in St. Louis?
No, in Columbia.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So that would have been 83, I guess. Yeah,
Did
83.
anything funny happen on that blind date? A lot of times, blind dates, funny stories occur just because,
It,
you don't know this person from Adam.
yeah, it ended promptly. Let's.
Okay. All right.
I don't. She agreed to go, but I don't think Sophie's Choice was. I don't think that's what she was looking to do on date night. So I can't remember her name. I just remember that she was from Ponca City, Illinois.
That's impressive that you know that.
Yeah.
Let me,
Or not, did I say Illinois, Oklahoma?
yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah. When you said that, I knew exactly what you were talking about. So let's think of another good time period. So you remember when MTV came out to the fraternity? Do you remember that?
I don't remember it like breaking out. For me,
Uh-huh.
MTV started
No,
in
like the people from MTV came out they were filming in our parking lot at Mizzou.
what?
MTV. Yeah.
The Fiji House?
Yes.
I do not remember that.
I
Now,
can't remember. Uh-huh.
but if you were a pledge in 85,
Yeah. You might have
right?
been gone. It's possible
I
you
was going
weren't
to
there.
say I lived off campus my senior year, so I might not have been in the house when that happened.
I think they were there to cover Greek Week. They were just like Greek life. It was a segment of MTV that was covering college Greek life. And they came over to us because we had just put in a sand volleyball court. And we were all out playing sand volleyball. And they thought that was cool. And they brought the cameras out. I don't know that it ever got on MTV because, frankly, when I was in college, I didn't have time to watch MTV.
Right, me neither. I don't think I saw TV for 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But,
wasn't in the class. I'm not saying I was in a classroom. I'm
right.
just saying I didn't watch a lot of TV.
Me either.
Um, yeah, you know what? So I don't even remember that at all. In fact, I can't even picture where a sand volleyball court.
Oh, really?
I
So
mean,
it was
where
right.
like behind the basketball goal?
Yes. Yes. It was a big endeavor. So think of all the engineering guys. We excavated an area. They of course had to put in all this water runoff type stuff. So this intricate water runoff under the sand, so that when it rained, it wouldn't mildew inside the sand. So they put in all this piping and stuff to get the water out. And then they filled it
Yeah, I'm
with
a business
sand.
major. I wouldn't have thought of any of that.
I know, me either. I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of time out by the sand volleyball court. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to say I played a lot of sand volleyball. I'm just going to say I spent a lot of time out there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so I don't that I have no recollection of that whatsoever. So that had to happen at least. Although, I mean, I
Uh-huh.
wasn't even when I lived off campus my senior year. I was still at the Fiji. In fact, I probably ate most meals um, at the Fiji house.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
worked close to campus, um, and then would come by the house and have dinner,
Yeah.
and fraternize with the brothers,
Right.
and then go home.
Sure.
We lived in an apartment off campus, but I
Right.
still, was at the house more often than not, I would say.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. So that could have absolutely been happening off the parking lot. Um, but I wouldn't have been, engaged with that.
Well, and most of the time we weren't playing sand volleyball until like Saturday or Sunday, because like we were in class and whatever else. But it was a good time. We had barbecues out there and everything.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
I honestly, so yeah, if that was happening my senior year, I, wasn't around while that was
no,
happening,
no
or it might
worries.
have been happening, even the year after that.
Yeah, yeah, no worries at all. I just remember that being kind of significant because the '80s MTV, and we have MTV like at our fraternity parking lot. It was kind of wild.
Wow.
But the other thing that we had, and you might not have been there, but Jerry Seinfeld came to Mizzou, and
What?
yes,
I graduated a year too early.
maybe so. Yeah, I remember when I did the press kit for Jerry Seinfeld for a poster that we put up all around campus saying, and he was a nobody back then. Like nobody knew who Jerry Seinfeld was. He didn't have his own show. I mean, he's working the college circuit. So he had like cut his teeth in New York, but now he's working the college circuit. When you're doing college circuit comedy, you haven't made it yet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
You're making money, don't get me wrong, but like we got, or at least I got a chance to see him like, at the very beginning before he really became a huge star. So kind of wild. Um, but man, I know so much craziness went on before I ever made it to Mizzou. Anything you can drip on about like some fun parties or anything like that, like Fiji Island, any kind of like,
Yeah, you know what? So when you were just um, talking about MTV and Jerry Seinfeld,
yeah,
so my mind goes to remember, or maybe you didn't know,
uh-huh.
my year, Sheryl Crow and Brad Pitt were in my class.
Yes, I did know that. I knew that, but I didn't like,
So
I
I thought
was
you were going to say Sheryl Crow with MTV, or Sheryl Crow bumped into Jerry Seinfeld in the parking lot, or something like that.
no, but did you ever have
Sheryl
class with Sheryl Crow?
Oh yeah. So Brad Pitt was my age, but I didn't ever really. I can't say that I knew him.
Okay.
In fact, he dropped out. He was a Sigma Chi. He lived in a fraternity, on
Down the road.
Fraternity Row
Yeah.
down the street, down College Avenue from us. But
Yes.
didn't really know him. He dropped out, I think, second semester of the senior year, because he went to go do a little movie called Thelma and Louise or something. Or no, maybe he went on Dallas first.
I don't know, but man, things
TV
worked
show,
out for him.
right? But Sheryl Crow, we did Greek Week with the Thetas, and Sheryl Crow was a Theta, and she was the star. And so
Oh, I bet.
and that was maybe my sophomore year. So very early on, we knew, you could just tell that she had pipes and she was going to be somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the first thing she did out of college, so we would see her play around local places. Like I can't think of Deja Vu or what some of the places was.
Yeah,
But
probably was Deja Vu.
she was kind of a folksy singer.
Right.
So that's not necessarily my gig. But we'd go to see her, or
The
there were
Blue Note. I
only
bet she played the Blue Note.
I'm sure she probably did.
Yeah.
There were, not that there weren't more than a handful of places, but everybody went to the same places, on Monday night and Tuesday night and Wednesday night. That's how those things kind of play out in a college town.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so if she were at the Blue Note one night, Wednesday, and that's where everybody was headed, then you ended up seeing her. But I think the first thing she did right out of college was she was a backup singer for Michael Jackson. So she
That's
went,
correct.
I
Yeah.
remember, in fact, I saw, I was still in school,
Yeah.
but when Michael Jackson's Thriller tour, she was, or maybe it was the next one, she did the Saida Garrett part. The I Just Can't Stop Loving You or whatever.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know she was significant in the Michael Jackson show. She started off being insignificant, but they moved her into a very significant spot in his show.
Yeah, yeah. She had pipes. So
They did a duet together. I mean, it was like crazy. She went from being nobody knows her to
yeah,
now
backup singer, backup dancer, whatever part
yeah.
they
Now she's doing a
relegated her to.
duet with Michael Jackson, the biggest pop star in the world in the
Right.
80s.
So anyway, when you were name dropping Seinfeld and people like that, I thought you're going to ask me about Sheryl Crow. Like I said, I didn't know her well, but I can say that I knew her.
So Jeff Baker had a good story about Brad Pitt, and he had a bunch of classes with Brad Pitt.
Oh, really?
Because I think Brad Pitt was in J school, like in broadcast in J school, but he also took like a lot of like film type classes, like fine art type classes, I guess. And
Yeah, maybe.
and according to Jeff Baker, Brad Pitt was experimenting with makeup, like women's makeup. Sorry, Brad.
I can believe it. I remember seeing Brad Pitt. So talking about going back to karaoke, why is karaoke so big? Brad Pitt and a couple other. Wait a minute, did I say he was Sigma Chi?
He was Sigma Chi.
He was Sigma Chi.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of Sigma Chi's dressed up like the Pointer Sisters, so with makeup and dresses, and they did "Baby Come and Get It While It's Hot."
Oh my God!
Why hasn't that clip ever? He's like me looking for the Village People. Nobody had cameras back then. Or they had cameras. Nobody had phones that acted as cameras back then.
So do you think Brad Pitt was one of the singers in the Pointer Sister?
Oh,
skit?
he was. He was the lead singer.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that's a great story. Oh my God!
And they won too. Story. They won.
Huh?
But
were you there the year that Jerry Jerry Goldner, and he dressed up like John Bon Jovi, and he was winning awards he was winning money left and right.
I don't remember that,
you
but
might not have been there for that.
Absolutely see Goldie doing that because
oh my
he
God,
just had that rocker. Even if he didn't have a microphone in his hand, he just had that persona, that aura. He could just walk around and girls would be like, and so I can absolutely see him.
Yeah, that was Jerry. But yeah, he did a great job with that. He looked like him too. Like
yeah,
when you
I can believe that 100%.
It was wild. No, that's interesting about Brad Pitt. So what else do I know about Brad Pitt? So when I was in LA a few years ago, about 3 years ago, they told a story about Brad Pitt. You know how Brad Pitt got discovered?
How's that?
Like 1 month into Hollywood, he was dressed up like a yellow chicken in the front of a fried chicken fast food joint. They hired him to bring customers in, And apparently he did such a good job as a chicken, he got offered a job in
Wow.
Hollywood.
I'm pretty sure the first real gig that he got was, remember the TV show Dallas.
Maybe
He
so.
he was I used to watch it in high school, but I don't think I watched it in college. He
Yeah,
used to be Lucy's boyfriend,
maybe
and then
so. Yeah, you could be
right
right.
after that, he was in Thelma and Louise. So that happened quickly for him. He might have
Yeah,
been in some sitcom or something on
yeah.
TV for a little bit
I
as
heard
well.
the story. He definitely didn't like pay his dues. Like, early on, he got discovered. It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
So, your talent rises to the top, I guess.
there you have it.
That's funny though, man. To find pictures of him dressed up like a Pointer Sister, now that would be good.
Somebody's got to have those out there somewhere.
I know, I know. I belong to a Missouri University alumni group here
Yeah.
in Dallas, and I'll ask if anybody has those pictures because we got. It seems like anytime I attend an event, everybody there is older than me. It's the spectrum is they're either all much older than me or much younger than me. There's hardly anybody there my age.
Yeah. Well, he's like I say, I'm pretty sure he was my year, so
Oh,
he
I
would
think
have
he was.
graduated. I'm pretty sure, like 86.
Were you and Jeff Baker in the same pledge class?
Yes.
Okay. Because Baker talks about him all the time, says, all these stories about him. I haven't
That's
heard any stories about Sheryl Crow, but I'm
Yeah.
familiar
She
with
was a
like,
couple years older, and I don't think Baker was involved in Greek Week that year for whatever reason.
okay,
But anybody that was, would have spent a lot of time with Cheryl
yeah,
with that production because back then that was a huge thing. Um,
absolutely.
so we spent a lot of time with her for at least that 2 or 3 months out of the year anyway.
So Brian, back in the day in Columbia, did you ever have an opportunity to you know go to a small venue and see an up and coming band that's like really big now or big back in the big in the day?
I don't
Do you remember that at all?
I don't think so. There was I'll
Uh-huh.
tell you there was I wish I had. I wish I could drop
Yeah.
that story on you right now.
Yeah, no worries.
Not so much, but I'll tell you what, probably after my sophomore year, I started working um, year round. Like I was a teaching assistant for a class, and then
Yeah.
I worked for like as a student advisor and things like that. So I was either working
Mhm.
for a bank in Columbia or for the university. So once I started working, I'd stopped going home. So the point of letting you know that is that back then the University of Missouri probably had 25,000 students
Sure.
during the school year, but over Christmas break and over Easter break and during the summer, um, you know, th- when Columbia became a little college town, and everybody left except for the people that lived there. So I was in that group,
Sure.
junior year for a couple 3 years, and um, the so that group of people you talk about. On Monday night, you went to the field house, and Tuesday it was Harpo's, and Wednesday it was Deja Vu, and Thursday it was By George's. I mean, the same 50, 60 people went to the same places.
Oh,
Uh,
so you knew everybody.
you knew everybody.
Yeah.
And there was one after bars party, and everybody went there. And then the next day, everybody went to the quarry and floated. So you
I remember the
really,
Corey.
that, yeah, that was so summer was for me as much fun as the school year. So
Oh, yeah.
there wasn't as much going on, But what was going on was, the same small group of people. So everybody got to know each other and enjoy each other's company. And yeah, you can say that's kind of monotonous, and maybe it was, but you still had I had a phenomenal time. You got to know everybody well. You got to live out on your own. It wasn't the same as, living in the house,
Right.
or whatever. It was a different experience.
Sure.
And so I really enjoyed doing that. So that's not an answer to your question, but we did go, like every Wednesday night to the Deja Vu. And so whatever comedy acts were coming through town or were on the circuit at that time, we saw them all. So
I bet
there
you
wasn't
did.
anybody who broke out. There wasn't a Jerry Seinfeld or a Dave
What did you
Chappelle or
saw? Did
anybody
you ever
else.
see Sam Kinison? Does he
I
sound familiar?
did. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that in Kansas City?
Yeah. It had to be. It had to be.
What a talented guy.
Yeah. Is he still with us?
No,
I think he is,
he
isn't
passed away. He had just gotten married. It's not a funny story. It's a very ironic story, but I read a lot of biographies. So Sam had just passed away. I mean, no, not passed away. He just gotten married, and he was coming, I think, from Vegas back to L.A. And he gets to he gets to an intersection that doesn't have lights or anything, or it just like it's 4 stop signs basically. And he proceeds, and this guy clobbers him and kills him immediately.
he? Ouch.
I mean, he was just T-boned to death. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But I got a funny story about Sam Kinison that somebody told me in Dallas. Uh,
Yeah.
this downtown bar, and Sam Kinison used to play it back in the day before he was kind of big then.
In Dallas?
Well, he was a touring comedian, but it wasn't like a really big venue he was playing. So, but he wasn't in LA. So he'd moved out of LA and he was touring the country with his comedy show or whatever.
Okay.
But apparently he was all coked up, and he arrived in the back of a van, and the van had a mattress in the back, and he was just comatose in the back of this van, dressed ready to go on stage. And when it was time for him to go on stage, they opened the van and got him up and took him to the stage, and he was phenomenal.
Wow. But you know what? That's really not a unique circumstance, is it? I mean, aren't there a lot of artists who, party hard and they've got a bottle upturned to their mouth right up until, it's time to go on stage.
Yeah, Robin Williams, another great example. That guy.
Yeah.
But the Sam Kinison story, that's cool. You got to see Sam. Were you pretty freaked out when you saw him?
You know what? I just remember he was very loud.
And screamed, right?
He
You know.
screamed.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's not. I'm going to be honest. So I liked him. He was a very funny guy, very talented.
Yeah.
That's not my kind of humor.
No, it's no. The thing about his humor is he was like a shock comedian, and he was before Howard Stern.
Yeah.
He even got on a microphone. He was doing obnoxious comedy that made you think, I can't believe that guy just said that. Like he'd pick up a microphone and acted like he was pounding nails into Jesus's hands and go, you remember that? I mean, just, oh yeah.
I like obnoxious, but I just, when you talk about him, I'm like, yeah, not my favorite.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. I'm like Dave Chappelle and, I'm trying to think, Eddie Murphy, Chris
Oh
Rock.
yeah.
That's foul mouthed and obscene. That's my kind of comedy, I guess.
All good. No worries. So yeah, I was just wondering if you ever saw him live.
I was somebody wanted me to watch, what's his name? John Mulvaney.
Oh, I'm not familiar, but now that you
Um,
mentioned it,
I
I'll check
think he used
it
to
out.
write for SNL, and he's
Oh,
hosted it
really?
a couple times. But anyway, somebody was trying to get me to watch one of his specials the other night. And they're like, yeah, he will make you laugh for 2 hours and never say a cuss word.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm okay with a cuss word or two.
Right. Well, I'll just say shit just to get one in,
There you go.
just to get this at least to PG-13 / PG-14.
There you go.
Uh, so any other like anecdotal, story that you want to tell out of your life that you think might be, beneficial to the universe?
Wow. Um, yeah, John. Nothing that's been cleared. Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right, it's good. It's all good.
You know a little bit of my circumstances right now, so I'm
Oh no, it's all good, man. No worries, no worries, none whatsoever. It's uh,
right.
it's a wild, wild life we live. So, but people just, I mean, when they listen to this, they will not be able to appreciate how much fun we had in college. It is just not even, and two, it wasn't a time to be disrespectful to people older than you. And it was just a time where we like worked really hard, we studied really hard, and like you and I, we got good grades, but we also just had a complete blast with a ton of freedom.
Yeah,
It was.
and it's a different world today.
It is. It is. It's unfortunate, but like it was so easy too. Like, you leave your fraternity room, you walk down a flight of steps, there's a keg of beer and people all over the place to have fun with, music playing. You like walk into a nightclub. You lived in a nightclub.
Yeah, yeah. You lived in a dance hall.
Yeah, you lived in
Um,
a dance hall and all your friends were there. You didn't have to go pick them up by the car. You didn't have to take them home by car. You didn't have to worry about driving your car. It was just such a and then if we had
ready-made fun.
what's that?
Ready-made fun.
Yes, it was all there. And if you got hungry, you could order Domino's. It was the only food available. It
Right.
was easy, easy times. I back in the day, because people that are Phi Gamma Delta will know this, but a we had a party, an annual party called Fiji Island, and I designed one year the sweatshirt. I drew it and designed the slogan for it. You know what the slogan was?
What's that?
Uh, Mom and Dad, thanks for the 4-year vacation.
Apropos, very apropos.
Yes, yes, it was. But it was different times in the 80s than what we have today. We didn't have like the cell phones. We didn't have like social media. We didn't have like people shaming each other. Like if you shamed somebody, you did it in person. Like if you wanted to insult people, you had to stand toe to toe with them and really insult them. You didn't get
Right.
to do it, through a mousy application on your cell phone.
Yeah. Face to face.
Yes. Yes. And if you had an argument, it was face to face. It wasn't through text messages. I think we've lost our way in the world. That's just it's my item that I wanted to mention. Sales warrior, and I've been professionally selling for 32 years. And I know over that time period, it can be difficult to stay motivated. You have to stay motivated come Monday morning. And that Monday morning, you need to be able to send emails, make phone calls, make the follow up phone calls, and schedule the appointments, but more importantly, be relaxed and ask for the business and believe that you're going to get the business when you ask for it. And that little bit of time between taking action and not taking action, that's what I help with. I help with giving you the fire so you can take action. And by taking more action, you can get more results. That's what I help people do. How do I do it? Simple. I have a book on Amazon. It's called Sales Warrior. And I have a course on Teachable. It's called Sales Warrior Boot Camp Module 1. And it's a 3-day boot camp. It's a lot of fun. It includes instruction, inspiration, audio, video, and worksheets. And it's designed to be taken in 1-hour action blocks, because I know it's hard for people to take 3 days to learn all my wisdom. So I made it easy. All you do is take 1 hour each day until you've completed my course. It's foundational in nature, and it can be taken over and over. The great thing about my course is that once you sign up for my course, you get monthly information and inspiration from me, because I want to stay connected to you and I want to continue to inspire you. And there's no added cost to do that. Now, right now, I have my Sales Warrior Bootcamp on sale. My Sales Warrior Bootcamp is normally $3.99. I have it on special for $49. And with it, you get my book for free. That's it. Mention anything else you wanted to, say or share or anything, Brian? We're going to probably wind this up, but man, this has been a lot of fun. I would have never, thought about like the Brad Pitt and Sheryl Crow situation, but
Right. Just
yeah,
that,
go ahead.
So I was, I was fortunate enough to be able to stumble back and bump into some friends on purpose, and get back to Columbia. And I hadn't done much of that in the last, or on and off the last 20 years or so, I suppose. But now that I'm kind of reacquainted myself to it, I'm like, why haven't I been doing this for the last 20 years? Because there for a while I did.
Right. Yeah, me too.
It's a lot easier to get to Columbia from Kansas City or St. Louis, obviously, than here in Dallas.
Right.
But I'm absolutely going to get back into that. I think I said it earlier. Fraternity is not for college days alone, and not just fraternity, but college friends are not just for college days alone. So I'm unhappy with myself that I let some of those relationships slide and didn't keep up with some of those people and didn't go back as often as I should. But I'm going to get back into the swing of it here and make sure that I do. In fact, I'm going skiing with that crowd in March.
Awesome. Good for you, dude. That is awesome.
Yeah. So excited about that. Now, I don't know if my legs can hold me up long enough to do that, ski down a hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are they going skiing this year, Brian?
Park City, Utah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So not even Colorado, huh?
Yeah. I've never skied Utah, now that I think about it. So excited to do that. And it's not until March. I'm like, in March? We'll find out.
There you go. Okay. Well, with that, we'll end the show. I'm going to go ahead and sign us out, Brian. So this ends another amazing episode of Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. So Brian, say bye to everybody at Schools Out 80s.
Everybody, be safe, be well, and have a good one. School's out.
Awesome. And from Dallas, Texas, cheers, everybody.